Only 50 students are here. Okay, how would you know you people are here? Okay, so this is oral communication. Interview is also part of oral communication because in most of the cases in interviews we use only oral communication. Let's start this one. How do we communicate when we talk about oral communication? Through mouth. So, and this is why we call it oral communication. You people know the difference between your written and verbal communication. What is the difference between them?
Written and verbal.
Written and verbal.
And in verbal we speak, and in
Yeah,
written we write.
yeah. So that is the basic difference. And what is the difference between verbal and oral? See, in both the cases we are going to use words. That is the thing I want to emphasize here. Let it be oral, let it be written. If we are going to use words, we need phrases, we need sentences in both the cases. The only difference is in oral communication we use mouth, and in written communication we use pen and paper or other stationery. We can type it as well. So this is the difference. Ultimately we are going to use words. So these are types of verbal communication. Oral and written is type of verbal communication, and when we talk about body language, that is part of non-verbal communication. So this is the basic difference. When we talk about non-verbal communication, there we do not use words, but that is a separate unit, and I think you people have finished that. So let's come back to our oral communication. Here we will learn how it is different from written communication and how it is, equally important. There are several people who believe that written communication is more important, but we cannot survive without oral communication as well. Again, if you try to communicate through oral communication only, it will be difficult for you, because there are several formal documents which are needed to be maintained on regular basis, and for that purpose we need written communication. So in this unit we are going to look into the advantages and disadvantages of oral communication, and how we can improve our oral communication. What are the certain principles, what are the certain rules? If we follow them, we can improve our oral communication. So when we talk about speeches, presentation, discussions, interviews, group discussions, these are all part of our uh, oral communication. In most of these activities, people sit face to face and then they communicate. And what happens when you sit across a person and then communicate? The bonding is better. You can have a better rapport with them, because you can observe their other habits and other attributes as well. When you are uh, talking to someone on telephone, to understand their tone is the only thing through which you can understand that whether he is angry or not. But when you are talking to someone face to face, there are several ways you can see how you can improve your communication, and how what are the things which are leaving good impression there, and what are the things which are offending that person. So you can always exclude those things, and then you can always include more of those things which are making them happy. Because in communication, especially this communication, we are learning it for business purpose, for formal meetings and all, and there we need connections, and to establish good connections, face to face communication is very, very important. So what are the advantages of oral communication? First one is, it
Ma'am,
is, hello,
I need, ma'am.
Mrityunjay, what are you saying?
Start
Ma'am,
recording.
we not need on,
Recording
ma'am.
is started, Mrityunjay. It is getting recorded. Okay, so it's time saving. Why we are saying so? Because when you go for that written part, we have all seen the communication process. First, you are going to write a letter, then you will put it into the mail, then it will be received, then there will be there can be several queries, and so many rounds will be there to complete one circle. And this is why we say that oral communication is always time saving, because when you are communicating face to face or over telephone, you can always remove all those loopholes. You can always cut out all the confusions with the help of one or two three messages. You are communicating directly, so everything is clear. Whatever problem arises, then and there it is resolved. It is removed from this communication process. So this is why we say that it is time saving, oral communication. While in written, we have to wait for the other person. Even if you are mailing it, if it is an email, you have to wait for the reply, and it might happen that when you receive the reply, you are busy, you cannot reply at the same time. So ultimately, oral communication always is quicker. Second one is saving in cost. So we know when written communication is involved, there are several things which we need. We need stationery. We need people who are going to create these messages. Then we need a channel through which it will be circulated. So there are so many people involved in sending out those messages when it is written communication. All these things, like secretaries, stenographer, typists, people like peons and all, who will take this to the other desk, those kind of things. We can save all these things, all the cost of these things, with the help of oral communication. You can talk to several people at the same time by organizing a meeting where all of you are going to sit together, and finally you can take a decision. So it is always economical in comparison to written communication. Third one is effective media. So uh, this is more effective than the written one, because again, you can get the feedback very quickly. Very quickly you get the feedback. It's just like when we talk to you in the class, where we can see, where we can look at you. You are sitting in the front bench, and we can see that you are not understanding anything. Even without you saying that, I can understand, that you are not getting the point. And this is why we say that this is a better medium through which we can communicate. Oral communication is always more effective. Then we have easy understanding. So whenever you feel like that, okay, here a kind of explanation is needed, you can ask for that, and the other person can explain it. So this is why we say that oral communication is better. It's just like you have received a mail where you are instructed to do something, and then you receive it. There you have several queries. Now you will have again write you have to write it again to that person. The person receives it. Now it is up to his perspective, how he is decoding those messages. He can get offended as well, he can take it very easily as well. It's up to his perception. He'll decide what is your need. He is not taking it from you, he is deciding it after reading it. And here the things get changed. When you are face to face, you can always convince the other person, you can always persuade them to see what is your point. And this is why we say it is in oral communication, understanding is a bit more clear than in written communication. Okay, then we have to measure the effect of communication. It's just like when we are talking. After every 5 minutes, teachers ask you whether you are getting it or not, whether you are receiving it properly or not, if there is any problem. And whenever you face any problem, you can quickly ask it then and there. So this is done to check whether you are receiving it properly or not. So this happens in business world as well, when they are emergency or when they are very important meetings. People do not rely on written communication, they want to sit across each other. It's just like you sent a proposal to someone and they rejected it, so you, instead of sending it again, you seek an appointment there, you want to meet them in person. Why? Because if you sit across them, you can understand what is the reason they're declining or why they are refusing it, and then you can always add things which will please them or which will suit them. So this is why oral communication is better, and with the help of this we can always understand where our communication is failing, what is that point which is making the other person offended, or which is making him to refuse your offer. So to measure the effect of communication, oral communication is always better than written one. Next is emergency needs. All of you understand it. There's nothing to explain. Whenever we are in hurry, it's just like you have sent a mail to someone. Now it was not meant for that person. Instead of sending them the other messages, you would prefer to call them and tell them that this was not meant for him. Okay, in the same manner, if you see someone in emergency, in tragic, in a condition where something tragic can happen, you are not going to rely on written things. You will certainly rush to that person. You will try to establish a communication which is oral, so that you can inform them, you can alert them. So whenever there is emergency need, where whenever there is urgency, people prefer to meet and communicate directly, so that it can be done quickly, and it can be done effectively as well. Okay. Next is our mechanical devices. So what happens here, if the organization is big, we are talking about those organization or those offices which have multi-story buildings. So there they can even install the devices with the help of which they can communicate with each other. This is just like telecoms are there, small loudspeakers are there, whenever they need to call or talk to other people, they can make announcements there. Or if they need to, with intercoms, they can always directly call to other person. Although with the advancement in our telecommunication sector, we have seen a decline in intercom. Rather, people generally distribute to SIM cards and small handsets, so that they can directly be contacted. But how what is happening here, with the help of these mechanical devices, they can communicate very easily and very, very quickly. Eighth is decentralization. So do you have any idea what is decentralization? Anyone would
Uh,
like to try this? Yes.
Ma'am, I think decentralization is the process of distributing power uh, from one main source to several other subsidiaries.
That is correct. That is exactly correct, Amisha. Uh, what happens when we are talking about written communication? There is a kind of secrecy. Okay, the people who have the information, it's up to them whom do they release this information or share this information with. But in oral communication, this is decentralized. If someone is talking in the meeting, he is sharing it with all the members who are present in that meeting. So in this way, what happens, with the help of oral communication, all the people possess the power, all the people share the information, and in this way only one person is not holding the information, it is available with everyone. Although this is one of the biggest disadvantages as well, but we'll discuss that in the next slide. Next is effective coordination. So when you know the information, all the people know the information. It's just like 10 members are running a project. Only two people know the exact scenario. Others are just, they are clueless there how to take decisions. So there cannot be good rapport, there cannot be good coordination. For good coordination, oral communication is done. There's transparency in most of the decisions, most of the data is shared with all the members, and this happens with the help of oral communication only. Written communication is generally done with the leader of the or the team leader, and then it is his responsibility to share it with the other people. So now again, this is like centralizing the power, but with the help of oral communication, everyone in the team has the information, and they can take their own decisions as well. And when you know the correct information, it is easier for you to have a coordination with all the team members. Next is proper control and supervision, and follow up of messages. So these are very common things. This is why I'm not stressing on them too much. These are things which we do every day. Proper control and supervision. With the written communication, it is a bit difficult when you need to punish someone. It's just like there are people who are controlling you, there are people who are supervising you. So if I go out every time there is a problem, and I start writing, circulating a notice every time something happens, after some time I'll lose the control, because people are not going to pay any attention to those notices. Rather, when it is oral communication where I can tell the other person that they are creating problem, or because of them we are facing any problem, it will be more effective. So supervising someone or controlling someone is easier when it is oral communication. Even in those places which are very big, with the help of cameras and microphones, those people sit in other chambers and all, but from even there they supervise and they give messages. So it is always easier to supervise or control the scenarios or the situations when it is oral communication rather than written communication. Follow up of messages. So again, feedback is very quick when it is oral communication, and when you get stuck, whenever you get stuck, it's easier for you to ask questions. If you see that the other person is not is getting confused, he is not taking it as you are trying to do, you can give more examples, more explanations. Following up is easier here. Whatever the need is, you can cater to that need when it comes to oral communication. So these are general. I'm not saying these are restricted. You can find out more advantages of oral communication if you try to. Are these clear? Yeah, very simple.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Now we come to disadvantages. If we go by the advantages we have seen, after some times, or there are limitation up to which they can be called advantages, there are certain times they turn into disadvantages as well. First of all is external communication. When we talk about internal communication, oral communication can suffice. It's just like you can instruct your own employees that they are supposed to do this much work today. But when it is related to external communication, you are in business, you have to make certain deals every day, you have to sign certain orders every day, you have to keep up your checkbook and balance everything. So in that case, oral communication can never be sufficient. You need written records, and this is why we say when external communication comes in the scenario, our oral communication is not enough. We need written communication there. Second is noise. So it creates a lot of noise. It's just like several times when with the help of those loudspeakers there are announcements, people who are not even concerned with that, they get disturbed because they have to listen to those messages. So oral communication is quite noisy. It's just like the manager or the supervisor is talking to the other employee, he is rebuking him, he is scolding him, and even if you are not concerned, you will have to be part of that. So it creates a lot of noise there. No secrecy, as I told you. It's just like when we decentralize, there are several matters which need to be confidential. They are not supposed to be revealed to everyone in the organization. It's just like it happens very often that some people get increment, some other do not get increment. So if you do not do not get the, if you have received the increment and your friend has not, so if it comes through an envelope, that will be better than getting announced openly that you have received and he has not. It's going to create a lot of disturbance in your relationship as well. In the same manner, there are several decisions which are confidential, which should not be shared with other parties or all the members of the team. So in those cases, it is better to have written communication rather than oral communication. Problem of language. This is very important because even if you are following one language, generally lingua franca, as we say, English is prevalent everywhere. But even then, people, we have discussed it in the barriers, cultural barriers, that when people send other, people to offshore locations where they are sent to work overseas, certain times they fail because they do not know the language of that country. Even if they are very good in English, they are unable to get required business, or they feel that they are being ineffective there. Why? Because they do not know the local language. So they have to learn one or two languages of that country, of that place, and then they can survive there. This happens everywhere. Problem of language. When it is oral communication, people can miss the messages. So it is better when it comes in written. They can read it, they can understand it, plus they have the record for future. Whenever in future they want to refer to it, they have it in written. They can show the record why they took certain decisions and what was their perspective, how they decoded it. If it is every time oral, it will create a lot of problem for those people. Fifth is drawback of machine. So we all know, these big companies, these big organizations, they can afford it, but it is not always feasible or affordable for small companies. What will they do? Okay, so they have to circulate it, or they rely on written communication more. It's just like everywhere these days we have WhatsApp groups. We have emails, but we have WhatsApp groups as well, and we prefer to send a message there so that it is circulated more easily than sending out, installing all those loudspeaker throughout the building, and arranging all those phones and all. So it's better for them that they take the personal numbers of the people, and then they circulate the message. Are these clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And then we come to problems in technical work. When we talk about these people like stenographers or secretaries, they have an edge over others when it comes to creating the messages and circulating them. We cannot do away with them completely. We need them. They have their own channels through which they can do it quickly. And when it comes to drafting the message, that is also one of the skills you need. So every time it is not possible to draft the message effectively, when these people are present, you don't have to worry about it, because it's their job. They are well versed in it. They do it in minutes, and then they circulate with the help of their own channels. Everything is done very quickly. You don't have to bother about it. It's just like when it is oral communication, as you can see the seventh point, absence creates problem. There were 10 people when you announced it, and remaining 5 were missing. Now when they turn up, they are unhappy, or they have to rely on others. What do they tell them? If they miss any of the details, they are going to, they have to suffer for that because there is no record for it. But when it is written communication, ultimately they will receive the message, the complete message which was being circulated. So because of these stenographers, these typists and secretaries, it is easier to have communication, and when people who are absent, they can also receive it later. Absence creates a lot of problem when it is oral communication. It's just like we are two parties here. I'm the sender, you are receiver, and when it keeps changing. When you people speak, I become the receiver. So if any of us is missing, this cannot take place. If the teacher is missing, you cannot take the class, and if students are missing, I cannot take the class. So absence creates problem. It's just like if I record this lecture and leave it here, later or as well you can replay it and understand it. So this will not be called two-way communication, direct communication, because we are not, this is asynchronous. Okay, we are not doing it at the same time. So in oral communication, absence creates a lot of problem. The presence of both the parties at the same time at the same place is very, very important. Eighth is no evidence. We have just discussed it, that records are needed. Documentation is very, very important when it is formal communication. You cannot take decisions orally. You have to give other people a record or an evidence that this was asked from them to do, or they have done it because they were instructed to do so. So for that purpose, they need it in written. So in oral communication, there is no possibility of evidence. Place of work, as we have discussed, absence creates problem. Right now we are communicating, this is oral communication, but again and again we face a lot of problem because of the network. Okay, you people are always concerned that please record it, because I understand certain times you lose the connection, so you can replay it later and you can see, you can listen to the remaining part. And this happens in oral communication. People, if they are not present in the same workplace, they are working from different places, then it will create a lot of problem. It is not, filtering is filtering can be there, disruption can be there, anything can happen. Costly devices, although we have discussed it in drawback of machine, we are discussing it once again. Not everyone can afford these things. We cannot lace our workplace with all these devices very easily, because they are very, very costly, they are expensive, and not all the organizations can afford them. And this is why we call them in disadvantages. This is a limitation there, that all those machines, and plus, when you install them, they need maintenance as well. Time and again new technology is there, time and again their some of their parts stop working, so repairing is there. They need a lot of maintenance, and it will increase the cost for the organization. This is why it is not always suggested that we go for oral communication, mass oral communication at least. These are the 10 disadvantages of oral communication. Let's move to the next slide, which is principles of effective communication. How?
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, can you please explain the sixth point, problems in technical?
Okay. What is this? Problems in technical part of oral communication. What will be that? How to circulate the message. That is the technical part of oral communication. And in the previous one, we said that we can directly communicate with the other party. We do not need secretaries, typist, or stenographer. So oral communication is face to face. But this becomes a problem when it is mass communication. It's just like you are the manager, you have at least 100 subordinates under you. You cannot call everyone every time you need to communicate something. So what will happen? You will have to rely on written communication, because you have to circulate that message. It's just like all of them are working in the same place. It's in one hall. You can stand there and with the help of a mic you can announce it. but again 100 people sitting in the one place, that's not possible. Let's be real here, that is not possible. And in these scenarios we need a chain, we need a channel, and these people who are who work as secretaries or typists, they have their own way of circulating everything, is because it is their job. They have a set channel, they have everything, all the links. They once put the message, everything is circulated in a proper way, and it reaches everyone there. And this is why we say that in oral communication there is a lot of problem in technical part.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so we were talking about principles of effective communication, how we can improve it. Although we are discussing oral communication, but these next two slides, these go with written and oral both. We can, if we take care of these principles, if we follow them, we can improve our communication. We can always do that. First one is brevity. Anyone knows the meaning of brevity?
Ma'am, it is like a brief.
Yes, correct. Brevity is briefness. When we talk about communication, whenever you are communicating with someone, do not go for very lengthy messages. We generally say brevity is the soul of wit. So brevity is the soul of wit. It means if you are witty, if you are someone who has wisdom, you will use fewer words. Fewer words can, even if you have chosen them properly, they can give effective messages there. When it is too lengthy when it is sloppily written, you have not taken any care, people are going to get more confused. So instead of going for lengthy sentences or lengthy messages, it is always suggested that you create crisp messages, short and simple and to the point. And this is how we observe brevity. You can come to the third point here, choosing precise words. So precision also means brevity or briefness, but here we are talking about those accurate words which give the accurate meaning. It's just like there are several words which can give the same meaning, and for that we discuss those homophones and homonyms, so they confuse people. So instead of going for them, if we go for exact words which can give exact meaning, it will be easier for the receiver to understand the message. So we should always try to be accurate, we should always try to use precise words which can reveal the correct meaning. Second is clarity. So whenever you are writing a message, whenever you are observing, whenever you are taking part in any communication, it is always suggested that give it proper timing. Okay, when we are in hurry, we certain times code our messages or construct our messages in a way that they become confusing. So instead of doing that, making it confusing, roundabout manner, people use these kind of language which is ambiguous. There are words which are open to several meanings, and the other party who is reading, they are reading it again and again, and still they are unable to understand the meaning. So clarity is very important. When you are writing a message, you should read, you should think, and you should edit. You should always try to remove those parts which can be open to many meanings. It should always be to the point. There should be clarity in the message. Fourth is cliche. So cliche are those words or phrases which are overused, and when they are overused, what happens? They lose their effectiveness. And the most common one which we all have heard is last but not the least. So anyone who is at the end of the list, he is generally introduced with this particular phrase, which is not always correct. Okay, that person can be the most important person because he can be the head of the department, he can be the head of the organization, he has been invited to close the ceremony. So now how can you introduce such an important personality with last but not the least. So this is a cliche. There are several phrases, there are several sentences which are cliched, and even then they are still in circulation. They are still used. So we should try to remove them from our messages because they make the message boring and people do not generally relate with all the phrases which are being used for them. Fifth is sequences. So when we talk about sequence, we are talking about the order. Uh, Whenever you are communicating with someone, especially when these are important messages, it's just like, there are ways in which you start your message. Then, in written communication, we do this introduction, middle part, and then conclusion. So you do not jumble up the sequence there, that you start with conclusion then come to main discussion and then the introduction. You do not do that. So the sequencing of the messages, the matter you are revealing, there should be a sequence. They should be related to each other. One idea should lead to the another idea, and in this way we should try to write our messages. So if you change the sequence, it's just like you start with something very important, then you lead to unimportant things. That doesn't sound nice. In If you reverse it, that can work. Certain times when we have to start a conversation, we just do not start it with the main point. We try to give a kind of background and then we come to the main point. The sequences are always important when you are communicating. What are jargons? What do we mean by jargons?
Technical.
Technical what, Koja?
Jargon words like technical words.
Yes. So technical words. All of you should be active now. All of you know that your final exams are based on Viva only. So be active. You will have to give answers there. This time there is no choice of, copying. Okay, so we are talking about jargons. We have discussed it in the technical and general communication that jargons should not be used with people who are laymen or common people. When you are sitting with those people, who are from your own field where you are having special communication, jargons are welcome. But otherwise, in general communication, where people are unaware of these jargons, we should try to avoid them. Otherwise, our messages will just bounce over their heads. They are not going to understand them properly. Next is avoiding verbosity. Verbosity, what do we mean by verbosity? Anyone?
I'm like using excessive amount of words.
Yes, correct, Alia. That is correct. When we use words which are superfluous, in general communication, when you are writing those letters, informal letters, you can go for poetry, you can go for flowery language and all, but it is not suggested every time. People who are simple or where you have formal communication, you are having formal communication. If you go for very lengthy messages using superfluous words, and that is going to make it very confusing, and certain times you will give them the another idea, the idea you wanted them to focus on. Rather than, just because you have included too many words and ideas there, they can get distracted because of your messages. And this is why verbosity should not be there when you are creating your message. 7 C's of communication. This we'll look in the next slide in detail. Ninth is preposition. So it happens that people unnecessarily use prepositions, and this leads to verbosity. This always leads to verbosity. So whenever you are writing something or whenever you are speaking something, check whether if you are using too many prepositions there, try to exclude them. Otherwise, this will lead to verbosity. Finally, adjectives and adverbs. These are also, when you listen to those commentaries, what happens? One sixer, and then they will tell you this was a massive shot. So what they are doing here, they are using accolades, they are praising them, and for these purposes the adjectives and adverbs should be used, but too many of them are again going to distract the reader. So these should be prepositions, adjectives and adverbs, they should be used with wisdom. A kind of control is needed when you are using these parts of speeches. Okay, anything from this one which is not clear? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. So we are on the last slide, which is 7 C's of communication, and this is very important. You know, throughout your career, you will find that these 7 C's are really important. This is the first year. If you people go for your MBAs and all, there as well they are going to tell you that these 7 C's are very important when you are communicating. I have included here. You can see 7 C's are here. These 7 C's are not fixed. Certain times people add some of them and exclude some of them. These 7 C's, according to this chart, are clear, concise, concrete, correct, coherent, complete, and courteous. So there can be places where people might have changed it. So don't get distracted there. If you see that okay, someone has used completeness. Okay, complete we have. There are certain other terms as well which start with C, and people keep adding and excluding those. So these are not definite C's, but even then these are very important. Although we have discussed few of them in the previous slide, let's once again revise them. First one is clear. So when we say clear, it means your objective should be clear. So if you, it's just like if you are writing a letter to get a loan sanctioned, and throughout the letter you have written so many of your problems, but you have not given the reason, the exact reason why you should get that loan, then your objective is not clear. So writing is not going to help you. Making your objective clear, that is going to help you. So everywhere, wherever, whenever you are creating a message, it should be clear to the other person. Again, we are going to exclude those words which are complex, or if we have used any jargon, or if we have used any kind of words which are open to 2 or 3 meanings, we are going to exclude all those parts, and with the help of this we can create a clear message. Second one is concise, so preciseness or brevity gets included here. Keep it clear and to the point. So all the filler words and sentences, although when we speak we use filler words, we cannot communicate without that. Those words like or, these sounds are there, but it's just like when I speak I use okay a lot, or so these are filler words, we should try to control them. Concrete message, so here we are talking about ambiguity. Whatever you are trying to say, it should be specific and it should be clear. So do not use those words which can, we have learned in the first when we were learning barriers. There we had several examples, like what was the example which we took, like cookie. One cookie can be open for technical cookies which are used by web pages, and one is something edible. So they are open to 2 meanings. But here when you are talking about if you are talking about computers, you will have to give the background why you have used that particular word. So the main thing is that whatever you are trying to get done, it should be clearly written. It should be openly. It should be there for them. So let me give you one more example. It's just like if you are offering something, okay, you are in business, you have made a deal, and if you are making offers, so those offers should not be given in a manner that the other person keeps calculating how much they are going to get, or what kind of gifts they will receive. instead of leaving them confused and guessing, what you should do, you should include that in your document. No, nothing which is vague or which is ambiguous should be written in the message. Everything should be clear. You can see I have written here, use facts and figures to support your message. So whatever offer you are making, everything should be clearly written there. You know, those asterisks, when we look at the advertisements, they say 70% off, and then there is an asterisk which gives us this message that this is conditional. It's not going to be 70% for everyone. There are certain conditions which are being applied here. So in a way they are giving it clearly there. Okay, that is a concrete message. They have made this clear to the audience that it is not, you know, without conditions applied. So in this way, what you are doing, you are giving the specific message, you are not making them confused. Next is correct. So yes, obviously you should always check the accuracy. Whatever facts and figures you have used, you should check the authenticity. Most of the time it is, if it is a legal document or something, or if you are using mass communication, you should always quote the source from where you have taken these facts and figures. And typos these days, it's very often, you know, very frequent. Whenever we use emails or all, one key or another, we just mix them and there is a typo. So before hitting that send, please check that there are no typos. Coherent. Okay, here incorrect, we have this line, use the right level of language. So what is right level these days? All the there's a trend, you know, there's a language, we call it lingo of your texting. So this is somehow creeping into, you know, into the formal communication as well. Instead of writing the correct spelling, people go for shortcuts. You is replaced by you, that is also a small u, and have is reduced to hv. We should not use these languages when we are having formal communication. The level of language should be correct. We should check this. Coherent, does your message make sense? So please check the grammar. Please check whether one idea is being conveyed properly or not. Have you arranged your ideas sequentially there? There should be a logic in your message. So if you have not written it properly, people will not understand it, and you know, withholding the information. Certain times you do not want to reveal everything to the other person, so you withhold the information. So in that effort also, people create incoherent messages. If you have not revealed everything there, you need to check it again, that even then it should be coherent to the person who is going to receive it. If they have to ask for explanation or clarification again and again, then it will be ineffective. Complete. So we have discussed it earlier as well, that whenever you are writing something, read it and try to make it a message which can encompass every need of the other party. They should be able to get complete information from that. Otherwise, what will happen? They will have to contact you again and again, and they will seek for the information. Although whenever you are communicating, you should always include a call to action. It means whatever you want them to do. If it is just like in letters, you might have seen that we write do the needful. So whatever you have implored them to do, they should pay attention towards that. Whatever you have requested them to do, so that kind of a call to action should be included in your messages as well. Again, this is according to the need of the message. Finally, courteous, which I have observed that most of you people do not do these days. Saying please to other people, or could you, or thanking other people, saying please. So these kind of words, or these kind of tone, they build your goodwill. When you are writing those letters, and if your tone is rude, very, where you show the other person that you don't care about their needs, then it is not going to be helpful. Rather, using a tone, when we write letters, we started with dear sir or respected sir, we ended thanking you, yours sincerely. What are we doing? We are building goodwill there, that yes, we need you and we care for you, we respect you. So this kind of tone should always be there in formal communication. You should not be rude, and when you are courteous, somehow the other party gets involved very easily. When they sense that yes, you need them, they are ready to have a business with you. So being courteous is a key, and whenever even informal messages, we start with hello and thank you, and telling them good morning, good evening. That is common, that is courtesy. So we should be courteous. These are the 7 C's of communication. If you have any query, please ask. Okay. With this, we have come to the end of our syllabus. We have finished the syllabus for CSW, and I can see you people have no query. So I'll upload this PPT with the notes today. Any other query if
Ma'am,
you have regarding the
while
examination or
writing
all? Yes, yes, Narayan.
about assignment only, ma'am.
Yeah,
Resume actually should, fit it into one page. It would be better. Otherwise, it would take. While writing font size would be great, no, ma'am. So,
you want to type it.
I'm just saying, ma'am. Like I can write,
No,
ma'am,
then
but font size is
no
compared
problem.
to typing, it is very
No,
big.
no
So
problem. You
we
can, if it is
do
spilling
two
over the
pages.
next page, I have no problem. You can use 2 pages. I'm not going to allow you to type it.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Anything else? Okay, as you people have one more class, I'll end it here. So all of you know your, I think for D2, it is on 27th, CSW Viva.
Yes, ma'am. For D1, it is 28.
D1 or D2?
D2 27, ma'am. D1 28.
Yes, yes. Now you are giving the correct information. D2 will sit for Viva on 27th. So we will start it at 9 o'clock in the morning, and 9 to 12, and then 2 to 5. Okay. If there is any change, I'll inform you. But be ready with whole of your syllabus. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Divyanshu. Thank you all for listening. I'll end it here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.